So, Spider-Man Brand New Day has finally arrived, and man oh man, this is easily one of the best live-action Spider-Man movies that we've gotten in years. It's fast-paced with some of the most badass Spidey action ever put to screen, but beyond that, it tells an emotional story focused on a more mature Peter Parker, exploring the central drama in balancing a dual identity. Doing all this while incorporating the wider MCU in unique ways, I mean, the movie is just amazing, maybe even spectacular. And what better place to start than with Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland. I've had problems with the MCU's take on Peter Parker before, especially these two movies, but Tom Holland has never been the one to blame. If anything, he was let down by the bad writing. I've always thought he was an amazing actor, slotting well into the role of a younger, more energetic Spidey. He has the voice, the wisecracks, the physicality, and I think his subtle facial acting is so underrated, but in Brand New Day, he just takes it to a whole other level. This Peter is older, he's more mature, and he's so efficient at being Spidey because that's basically all he does. Tom perfectly embodies this new Peter Parker, and he imbues Spidey with such a lived-in quality. He brings the appropriate acrobatic physicality to the swinging and the action. Every line, from the quips to the serious conversations, are delivered with such a distinct sincerity. I particularly love his talks with Police Captain Jean DeWolf and the Punisher. When it comes to his Peter Parker, he nails the role of a depressed young man, grieving the life and relationships that he's lost. That scene at the party as he tries to reconnect with MJ and Ned is so heartbreaking. Seeing the friends he had to leave behind, but knowing that he just can't be with them. This grief hidden by stoicism can be read all over Tom's facial expressions. The intense loneliness that Peter feels makes him plunge fully into his work as Spider-Man, basically living inside the suit. And speaking of the suit, oh my god, the costume designers absolutely cooked with this one. Finally, they gave Tom a real practical suit without painting over it with CGI. The design reminds me a lot of classic John Romita Sr. Spidey, while taking design elements from the Raimi suit, the TASM 2 suit, and the original Homecoming suit. The eye lenses are great, the Spider logo is amazing, the red and blue tones are deep and vibrant, the colors pop on the screen.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
The suit is just a feast for the eyes, and thankfully Peter is Spider-Man for the vast majority of the movie, which to me makes perfect sense. For the past 4 years, Peter has overly dedicated himself to his role as a hero, feeling most at home behind the mask. It actually reminded me a lot of Matt Reeves' The Batman. In that film, the identity of Bruce Wayne, the man, is neglected. Instead, he fully prioritizes his role as Batman. He stays in the suit for like 90% of the movie, his vigilante persona taking more and more precedent in his life, until he realizes how it's affecting him and the people around him. A similar thing plays out here in Brand New Day. Delving into the role of Spider-Man is a cope, because his life as Peter Parker is so lonely. Both films deal with themes of emotional isolation, a relatable issue affecting many people nowadays, specifically young people, and especially young men. I think there's also commentary here on hustle and grind culture. Throwing yourself into work, even if it's good work like stopping criminals and saving people, can be dangerous if you don't have the time to take breaks and if you don't have a good personal support system. These themes of hustle culture, male loneliness, and the importance of work-life balance in an increasingly stressful world are all very timely, and for once, a new MCU movie feels like it has something to say, like it has actual themes and messages. Spider-Man 2 is also a big inspiration. Instead of Peter's bad mental state causing him to lose his powers, in Brand New Day, his powers kick into overdrive, giving him heightened senses and organic webbing. When he powers up, man do we get some amazing action scenes. With his souped up powers, Spider-Man is truly unleashed, with a violent edge similar to the effect of the symbiote. That fight with Scorpion was brutal, and it felt like it had real weight to it. I mean, all the fights in this movie are just incredible. Destin Cretton brought the same eye for action that he had with Shang-Chi and applied them to the most visually dynamic superhero there is. This new Spidey is moving like he's straight out the Insomniac games, genuinely. The tank chase was cool, I loved his little clash with the Punisher. His fight with the Hulk was pretty short, but it was awesome, forcing Peter up against a foe that's stronger than him, which is pretty rare. And that fight at Damage Control, Spider-Man versus the Hand, instantly one of the best action scenes in any Spidey movie ever. The coordinated attacks from the Hand paired with Spider-Man's flips and tricks, and that final move with the freaking web tornado, I was in the theater just locked in, bro. It was too tough. I mean, it's Spider-Man versus ninjas, what's not to love? Getting Destin Cretton for this film was clearly a masterstroke, and not even just for the action. The whole movie has a distinct visual identity. The whole movie just has sauce. It's the first Spider-Man film to really feel like New York since The Amazing Spider-Man 2. NYC actually feels real and lived in. I love the scenes of Peter Parker or Jean the Wolf riding the train with all the other passengers. I love all the scenes set in corner stores and apartments, and even the flashback scene with Jean Grey and her sister in Central Park. There's such a sense of place, and it's paired with good cinematography, which is pretty rare for the modern MCU. None of that flat, plain gray, blue screen bullshit, nah. Here the shots have actual shadows, color correction that feels artistic and intentional, and unique camera movements, especially during the key action scenes. Destin Daniel Cretton, I like Shang-Chi, but man, I was not familiar with your game. When it comes to the story, there's a lot going on in this one. My biggest concern going in was that it would be another overstuffed mess with too many plot lines, similar to Spider-Man 3 or TASM 2, but somehow they managed to include many characters from the wider MCU without it ever feeling forced. Every other character is in service of Peter and his arc. Bruce Banner, Frank Castle, and Jean Grey all feel like reflections of Peter and the different paths that he could go down. Bruce is also a science genius, attempting to muzzle his powers with DNA-altering tech. Frank Castle is a fellow vigilante, one who has lost those close to him and is now living a life of isolation away from society, entirely dedicated to his war on crime. Not too dissimilar to Spidey. He offers a dark mirror of what Peter could become if he continues down this path. And then you have Jean Grey. I really liked her in this movie. I mean, for obvious reasons, but for real though, even though I love the X-Men and Spider-Man, I was skeptical at first that this film was just being used as like a backdoor pilot for MCU X-Men, which is not at all what I would want from a Spider-Man movie, but thankfully, I couldn't have been more wrong. Jean Grey seamlessly fits into the plot as an antagonist, a young woman using her power for retribution against an organization and a wider society that views her as a threat, to be either controlled or wiped out. Peter knows what it's like to come to terms with having powers at a young age. He knows the strength it takes to let go of anger and vengeance, and he's also grappling with whether he should unleash his full power or suppress it. Because of these factors, Jean is a great foil to Peter, and he ends the conflict with her not by fighting her directly, but by showing her compassion and understanding in her darkest moment. And that is just the most Spider-Man thing ever. As an X-Men fan, I do think introducing her as a villain is a little interesting. Not necessarily a bad thing, but she does a lot of messed up stuff in this movie, including terrorist attacks, attempted murder, and a whole bunch of screwed up mind control shenanigans. She's pretty evil. Like, are we sure this is Jean Grey and not Madeline Pryor? But at the same time, I think starting Jean off in this angry, dark place is a good inverse of the previous films, where she starts off good before going full Phoenix, and I'm excited to see her redemption arc continue in the X-Men movies. Speaking of side characters, MJ and Ned are phenomenal in this movie. I wasn't the biggest fan of their characters in the Home trilogy because for the most part they were barely even characters, but here in a more reduced role, we get to see who they are independent of Peter, while he and the audience pine for them to be reunited. And while they do meet again, the movie smartly decides not to undo the ending of No Way Home. They just don't remember him at all, which is crushing for Peter. That scene where MJ and Peter have a true love kiss moment, only for it to be revealed that it's Jean in MJ's mind, was one of the most emotional and gut-wrenching moments I've seen in any superhero movie. Zendaya kills it in every scene. For once the writers actually give her an emotionally complex character to work with. I don't think she's horrible in the Home trilogy, she's fine, but her best work is outside of it, especially Dune Part 2, Challengers, and the drama. She's an actress who can do great with the right material, and here she gets just that. MJ is a young woman who finds herself at the center of Spidey's weird adventure, but when she finds his letter in one of the movie's most emotional scenes, she confirms that she has no memories of him. She doesn't love him. I mean, how could she? As she says, she doesn't even know him. At the same time, she has deep compassion and sympathy for Peter's situation and tries to connect with him, even inviting him up to her apartment so he can meet Ned. Jacob Batalon's Ned finally gets to feel like an actual person. He's still funny, but not just the goofy comic relief he felt like in Far From Home and No Way Home. There's poignancy to all his scenes with Peter. The two have an immediate vibe with each other, and even though he doesn't remember him, the sparks of a friendship are still there. The scene of Spider-Man and Ned building Legos while MJ sketches them was surprisingly emotional, even though it was so simple. It naturally builds in callbacks to Homecoming and gives Spidey a moment of reprieve, showing him that yes, he can have positive personal connections with people. I think it's like this movie's version of the chocolate cake scene in Spider-Man 2, and it's just so good. Even though Ned doesn't remember their past friendship and MJ doesn't remember their lost romance, the movie sets the trio on the path to forming an entirely new relationship, creating new dynamics and memories. worries, especially now that they know that he's Spider-Man. It's a real fresh start, a brand new day, if you will. All the characters revolve around Peter and his arc, and the only one that doesn't, Yelena, is just a fun extended cameo that I didn't mind at all. Now, unfortunately, this movie isn't like a perfect masterpiece. It does have its flaws, and even though I just praised Ned and MJ, I think they're also emblematic of a big issue here. This is the 4th entry in the series, which means that the film is building on the foundations of the Home trilogy. While I love Ned and MJ in this film, the characterization in the Home trilogy was so weak and poorly developed that I don't think the gravitas of their relationship to Peter hits as hard as the movie wants it to. Of course, that's not Brand New Day's fault, but the movie is depending on your investment in this friendship and this romance. However, when this friendship was little more than empty comic relief, and this romance was one of the most rushed and hollow I'd ever seen, there's only so much I can buy into it. I just wish the previous films made me care more about these characters like Brand New Day clearly wants me to, but it looks like we're finally on the right path. I have a similar problem with Aunt May's appearance. The ending with Aunt May talking to Jean in Peter's memory was powerful, and I love how the movie shows that May is always on Peter's mind, with him getting flowers for her grave. But again, Aunt May in Far From Home and No Way Home was mischaracterized and then given a rushed, forced storyline that ended with her dying. I just don't care about her in those movies because of how badly she's developed, and even though I like her scenes here, there's only so much I can get invested when the real work wasn't done to make me care about her in the last few films. The score for this movie is pretty good, and I love the use of needle drops. They gave the film a texture and vibe that you don't see in a lot of MCU movies. I just wish they used the actual MCU Spider-Man theme a lot more. Michael Giacchino's MCU Spidey theme has always been one of my favorites. It's so triumphant and energetic, and while it does show up here in a few key scenes, I wish they would have made it more prominent. Speaking of stuff I would have loved to see more of, Peter's mutation was a great plot point I wish got more time. You have that standout scene with Scorpion and the scenes of him getting overstimulated with his new powers, which I love, but beyond that, we don't get a lot of time with Peter struggling with this new spider puberty. I love the moment when he embraces this new power level to fight the Hand and takes off the inhibitor, but I think his struggle with this should have been a little more fleshed out. The same goes for Jean Grey. I love the ending of her story, but at the same time, it feels like she flipped from bad to good a little too fast. I know the movie tries to keep her secret for the first act, but I think that might have been a mistake, especially since her reveal wasn't super dramatic. If we knew she was Jean Grey right from the start, and we got that development with her sister near the beginning of the movie, it would have given her storyline and subsequent redemption more time to breathe. Her story arc is great, don't get me wrong, it just feels kinda rushed. While Jean is the main antagonist, I think the film does suffer a bit from the lack of a well-defined Spider-Man villain. Bill Metzger is not super interesting, and the fact that damage control is evil can be seen from a mile away. We don't really get a conclusion for his character, and a true villainous role alongside Jean maybe would have added something to the film. It kind of reminded me a lot of Thunderbolts, where Sentry is set up as a villain but later becomes a hero, while the real villain was some shady government organization that wants to control him. Both Metzger in Brand New Day and Valentina from Thunderbolts serve their purpose, I guess, but they're just not really that engaging. To be honest, I saw a lot of Thunderbolts influence on the plot here. A misunderstood and angry character who's gone through trauma that also has unstable psychic telekinetic abilities. They imprison NYC in some type of big psychic blast radius before the heroes help them turn good with the power of friendship. There's a main character struggling with their mental health, throwing themselves into superhero work while neglecting their own personhood, before realizing that they need friends and people around them that care about them. These two movies are actually a lot alike.
Looks very, similar.
But I'm not too mad about a few recycled plot lines. The ending of the movie was just absolutely peak. Like I said, I love that Peter Parker saves Jean through empathy rather than a fight. I love how Frank Castle actually does try and kill her, as she is causing a lot of pain to the city, and he does take a very absolutist view on crime. His apology to Peter and their convo in the hospital was surprisingly emotional. And then there's a scene right after. Peter walking into a crowd of citizens, watching the people he's dedicated himself to protecting show Spider-Man how much they care, how much they value him, and how much he's impacted their lives in a positive way.
They love me.
The fact that he experienced this moment anonymously in the crowd as Peter Parker, while Frank gets to feel what it's like to be adored by the public as he puts on the Spidey mask, it was just great. It was great for both characters and just super wholesome. Then there's the final scene with Ned, which is just the cherry on top. Peter chooses to stop neglecting his desire for friendship, choosing to instead let people in, to not be so alone. The handshake with Ned activates his muscle memory, And when he says Peter, it's not that he suddenly remembers Peter from his past life, but instead he's connecting this Peter to the Peter that he knows is Spider-Man. And this opens up a whole new road, a whole new friendship that can be forged between the two. Man, what a perfect way to end the film. And I'm really intrigued to where they take MCU Spider-Man from here. To be honest, I wasn't even really excited for this movie at first. I don't like Far From Home, I don't like No Way Home, and the MCU over the last few years has ranged from like passable mid to actual trash. But now that I've seen it, Brand New Day is easily the best MCU film post Endgame, and it might just be one of the best MCU films period. Wherever they take the character from here, I now really trust this new vision and the creative team. Let this man cook, and I'll be there. But what did you think of Spider-Man Brand New Day? Did it live up to the hype? Let me know. If you liked the video, hit that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching. It's your boy XO Dash, signing out.